Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Tracy in LA, the podcast, episode 34. This is still my roommate's mic. Mine that I ordered are coming in the mail on Wednesday, and today is Monday. I also forgot the little poofs that go on top of the mics because I forgot to bring the larger case with me that has those in it. I just brought the small case that just has the microphones because that's all I usually bring with my old microphone. And so I forgot that the larger case is the thing that has the poofs in it. That's okay. I think we're going to be fine. It's a windscreen. It's mostly made for wind, which there is not any in my car. But sometimes I think it helps against the p sounds and stuff like that, the t sounds. I think it softens them when you have the little poof, but we're all going to be just fine without the poof. We can survive without the poof. I did a mic test and it was fine without the poof, so we're fine. I'm going to stop saying the word poof because I feel like that has a lot of poop and and I'm just going to try not to use words like that. Just kidding, I'm not, but I'm going to stop saying the word poof after I say it one more time. Poof, poof, poof. Okay, I'm done. Anyways, today is Monday. Okay, guys, I actually took a Sabbath on Sunday, a Sabbath day of rest yesterday and the Sunday before that. I told you guys last time that I wasn't going to take a Sabbath on Sunday. I wasn't going to take a day of rest on Sunday, and I was just going to do a moment of rest. I was going to do a Tuesday morning beach thing. But then Sunday came. This was 2 Sundays ago. Sunday came, and I was exhausted from all of the work that I do. And I was like, I don't think I can do anything else today, even though I really felt like I needed to. I had so much to get done. But I was like, you know what? I think I really do need to take like a full Sunday, Sabbath day of rest. And maybe I'll still try to go to the beach on Tuesday morning, but like I need to take a full day. So I really did. I took a full day. I don't remember what I did anymore. It feels like a long time ago, 2 Sundays ago, but I know I didn't do any work and I know that it felt good and I felt refreshed on Monday morning. And then I was going to go to the beach on Tuesday morning, but Monday at my regular dance class, one of my friends was like telling me about this cool class of this contemporary teacher that I've never taken before. And she had already taken his class, but then she was going to take his round 2 class on Tuesday. And we're all waiting to go into our regular class on Monday. And she said to me, Tracy, do you want to come to that? Because he asked if I had any friends that would want guest spots. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. I was like, I'm not sure because I have other plans for that day. So I had plans to go to the beach and I also had plans to go to ballet since I was going to be on the west side. I was house sitting on the west side and that's near my favorite ballet studio. So I was going to go to the beach during the day, ballet at night. And now she's telling me there's a potential guest spot, free class for me for this cool contemporary class on Tuesday. And I was just like standing in line waiting for my other class. And I'm like, I don't know. Let me get back to you. So anyway, I kind of forgot about it. Then after the class, my usual class, I was like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? That's so cool that I could get a free class to this really cool contemporary teacher's class. Why am I not going to take advantage of that? And it's not just about the money, but it's just like he doesn't teach all the time. And the combo did look cool because I saw the round 1 video that people posted. And why would I not want to go to that? And that's really cool that I could get a guest spot. So I ended up texting her and like, do you think you could still get me a guest spot to that class? And so she worked it out. She got me that guest spot to a class of a teacher I don't even know, which feels like a crazy blessing from God. So I was like, yes, I will go to that class. So I was going to still try to go to the beach after that. That never ended up happening because I was exhausted. It was already late in the day when I got back from the class. Plus, you have to watch the video from class. You have to post it. All of that takes so much time. And then I was like, I still have things to do. Like, I can't just be doing nothing all day. I mean, I went to a dance class, so that is something. But I was like, I think I need to stay home and get editing done and not go to ballet tonight. So I didn't go to ballet once again, although I had free ballet this past Sunday. Yes, I did go to free ballet. So I took a Sabbath this past Sunday, yesterday. I'm really confused right now. Yesterday, I did take a Sabbath, but I did go to free ballet. So that was good since I didn't go to ballet during the week. They have Los Angeles Ballet. I talk about this all the time. They have 2 free ballet classes almost every month. And so I try to go to those on Sundays when I can. So I did go to that. I would still like to go to an extra ballet class this week. And I'm thinking about just driving all the way to my favorite ballet studio on the west side, even though I'm living at my actual house that's outside of LA now, because I just need to get more ballet in my life. so badly. And I went to a friend's dance show the other night. And during the intermission, this girl I hadn't seen in a really long time, who was on my podcast a long time ago, came up to me because she recognized me and I didn't realize she was there. And we started chatting a bunch during intermission. And she told me she got really into what used to be my favorite ballet class that I took all the time at my favorite ballet studio. We went there because I suggested it for her podcast a long time ago. And she apparently got really into it. And she told me she's been going to that a lot. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. I was like, I missed that class so much, but now I'm living really far away. But I do want to try to get back there, even if I have to drive, maybe sometimes. She was like, okay, well, I'm thinking about going on Wednesday, so you should come. And I was like, oh, maybe I will come on Wednesday. So might be making that drive on Wednesday. So one of my favorite teachers at this studio, he teaches on Saturday morning and Wednesday night, and his Saturday morning is an advanced beginner level, and his Wednesday night is more of an intermediate advanced. And I used to go to both of those classes, but it's been a long time since I've taken his class, and I really feel like I should start back in his Saturday class before I work my way up to going back to his Wednesday class. But my friend wants to go to the Wednesday class, and right now I do have a regular class on Saturday mornings that kind of conflicts with his Saturday morning ballet class. So I'm like, maybe I should just take a leap of faith and go to the Wednesday night class. I mean, technically I go to intermediate with Los Angeles Ballet twice a month with different teachers. So sometimes it is really hard and I just go for it and it's fine. And I'm sure I can go for it in my usual old Wednesday night ballet class. It's just been a while and that teacher like knows me. Like when I do bad in teachers' classes that don't really know me that well, I'm kind of like, whatever, who cares? I'm just trying my best. I'm growing. It's fine. But like I used to be kind of decent in this class I used to go to all the time, at least the Saturday morning one. I was definitely decent. Wednesday night, was always a little bit of a struggle for me, but I got better. I was getting better as I was going all the time. And so now since I haven't been going all the time, I'm sort of nervous to go back and be like, oh shoot, what if I suck so bad? But anyway, might go to that with her on that night. And then there was another girl that reached out to me who teaches a contemporary class, and she reached out to me to say happy birthday. And then we were talking about her class, and then she was like, come guest my class. And so I might guest her class this week too. I'm trying to kind of figure out what my new dance schedule is, just because ever since my dance show ended, kind of feel like, okay, let's figure out what classes I'm going to be focusing on and taking. I wanted to take more ballet classes when I thought there was a studio near my house I could take classes at, but that they don't have adult classes after the summer anymore. It's mostly a kids training studio. So I'm just like, what am I going to do? My roommate has a friend who takes who takes a regular ballet class every week. And I was thinking about going to that studio with her, but I didn't realize that studio is literally the same distance as my favorite studio, just in a different direction. And she just drives far because she really likes it. So I'm like, okay, well, I mean, maybe it's a cool studio. Maybe I'll still try it, but like, it doesn't really solve my problem of how far I have to drive to get to my studio. And it's also about the same amount of money. So it's the same money, the same time, the same gas. But we're just trusting God with dance classes, and we're just taking dance classes and seeing how it goes and seeing how he provides and everything. So anyway, still in the middle of figuring that all out. And speaking of money, I currently have about $200 in my bank account. Woo, woo, woo. And a $50 Amazon gift card, which I feel like kind of counts as actual money because it can kind of get anything on Amazon besides dance classes. But and the reason that I have all of that money is because I actually got a good amount of money for my birthday. Kind of crazy. I mean, I did tell people, please send me money for my birthday, but I mean, I wasn't joking. Like, I did want money for my birthday, but I'm not really expecting like a whole bunch of people to give me money on my birthday. People can't just like give money. I mean, a lot of people are struggling with money. It's not just like I'm the only one struggling with money, and I get that. But anyway, put it out there, and quite a large handful of people sent me money for my birthday. Anywhere between, I don't know, $20 and someone sent me $100 who doesn't even know me that well. And that was just like such a blessing. And she was like, I hope you can use this for ballet classes. And I was like, oh my gosh, I will use that for ballet classes. Thank you so much. So I got a good amount of money from people who like came to my birthday or didn't come to my birthday party. And that was just like such a blessing. I also so I have a P.O. box because I send out thank you cards for my Dance Journey podcast, and I want to put a return address that's not my actual address. And I also need to put an address at the bottom of my email newsletter because that's what you have to do when you use like the program that I use to send out my emails. And if you don't put an actual address that is your address. The generic address is like in Philadelphia, and that feels weird when I'm Tracy in LA and I'm supposed to be sending this out of LA, and people might be confused, like, does she live in Pennsylvania? What the heck? And I don't really want to put my actual address on those emails. So anyways, that's why I have a PO box. And maybe in the future, I'll really, really need that PO box because I'll have like thriving businesses and stuff. So anyways, I have a PO box, which is unfortunate because it costs like $75 every 3 months. And it feels like a lot of money whenever that bill comes up. But anyways, I'm like always like, should I just get rid of this and just not put return addresses on things and just have my email say Philadelphia and who cares? I don't know. Still thinking that over, but for now we've kept it. Anyways, went to my PO box to check my mail. I hardly ever get over there because now it's so far out of the way. It used to be really close to my old place, which I didn't even pick it because it was close to my old place. I picked it. I used to live in Pasadena. I picked this PO box as a PO box that would be out of LA. I didn't want it out of Pasadena. I wanted it out of LA, but I tried to pick an LA PO box that was closer-ish to me in Pasadena. And then the place I moved right after Pasadena happened to be right by this post office, like within 5 minutes. And I'm like, wow, that worked out so well. God must have known that I was going to be so close to this mailbox and it was going to work out so great. But then, of course, I moved really far away and now it's really far out of my way. So I don't go over there that often. Anyways, finally got over there, try to get over there once every couple weeks, check my mail. I'm always hoping for like a random check in the mail. That hasn't happened in a really long time. But this last time I had mail from State Farm, which is my old car insurance. I have Mercury car insurance now because I looked everywhere for the cheapest car insurance and I just could not. Everything's like around the same amount, but Mercury happened to be the cheapest and I do like them and I like their customer service. And I worked with them before because one time someone hit my car and they had Mercury insurance. And so I had to go through their insurance because my car was parked and fortunately they left a note and everything and were super nice and took all the fault for it. And I really liked working with Mercury Insurance. So they're the cheapest that I could find and I like them. So I've been with Mercury. Anyways, get an envelope in the mail from State Farm, who I haven't had in a while. And it just had some letter about these dividend checks that they're sending out for some reason. And so I got this check for $62.92. And I was like, yes, that is what I like to see when I check my PO box. I wish it was even at least the amount that I pay for this PO box, but that's okay. I was like really happy to get that money. Actually, I was like, yes, checks in the mail. Let's bring it on. I would like love to get that every time I check my mail. Anyway, so that helped a little bit. But then I've had my clothes. Oh, I told you guys last time that I was going to post my clothes on Poshmark, the ones that I got, the really fancy brands that I got from Goodwill. And I did, but then I took them down right away because I was like, I kind of just like want these clothes. I like them. And I don't think God's mostly told me to just trust him for provision and not try to provide for myself and try to figure out how to make money, but just like let him keep providing while I just keep obeying him and doing all the things that I feel like he told me to do. So then I just took the clothes down and was like, I just really want to wear these clothes. But then last Sunday I went, not yesterday, but the Sunday before that, I went to actual church in person and I wore the cute pants that I like and I wore my little combat boots from All Saints that I like so much, wore them to church. And it just so happened we had sort of a guest speaker, not really. He's actually was the old pastor of that church, but then he moved to Texas or something to take over some other church, but he still kind of oversees our church. I don't know, in Hollywood. So anyway, he comes in and speaks sometimes and he's very passionate and I really like him. Anyway, he was so passionate that in the beginning, everybody was standing. So usually in the beginning of church, when they first start reading the scripture or giving announcements or something, I don't know, people are usually standing up during that time for a little bit for some reason. I don't really remember why. I'm explaining this bad, but then they have you sit down when they actually fully start the sermon. Well, this is the one Sunday of all the Sundays I've been there, which has been quite a few now, that he just kept getting more and more passionate as he was just giving some sort of introduction. I kept thinking, is he going to like start the actual sermon or like what's happening? But he just kept talking, kept being passionate, and he kept like going off on tangents while we're all still standing. And we were standing for so long. I swear we were standing for like 45 minutes. And I kept being like, is he going to start the sermon? Is this a sermon? What is happening? It was a good message, but I was just like, my feet were hurting so bad. I didn't realize how badly those shoes kind of hurt my feet. Like they're cute and they're cool for like standing for a little bit, walking for a little bit, but mostly maybe for sitting down because standing that whole time, I was just like, Oh my gosh, I'm in so much pain right now. I was getting like aggravated at the speaker that he was still speaking and not that he wouldn't say like, everyone can have a seat. You can guys can sit down now. He never ever said that because he was just so passionate and going off about everything. And everybody in the audience and the congregation was so passionate too and just like cheering him on. And nobody seemed to want to sit down. Like I'm looking around, I'm like, not one person has sat down. We have literally been standing for like 45 minutes. How has not even one person? Doesn't anyone here have like an injury or something and like have to sit down? Why am I the only one that's like in pain trying to stand for this long? This is crazy. So finally, I just sat down. I was like, okay, I'm getting like bitter because I'm standing so long. I need to sit down and just like be able to take in this message and not be like bitter about it. So I sat down. I tried to sit sort of at the edge of my seat, like I'm still very interested. Like I'm not like being lazy. I just literally, my feet are in so much pain because of these dang shoes that are so expensive, but also painful. So anyway, after that, I went home. It was a great message actually. And after that, I went home and I thought to myself, these shoes hurt really bad. I don't know why I'm trying to keep them. And I looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, these pants aren't even that cute. I'm going to put all this stuff back on Poshmark. So I put the shoes up. I put the pants up. I put the blue jacket that I really like, the poofy jacket. I put all those things up on my Poshmark. I got really excited about it. I spent all this time. Like, I mean, it doesn't take that long, but I spent a chunk of time being excited, putting it up there, editing the descriptions and stuff. And then I had boxes ready to go. Like, I'm going to sell these. I actually put them all for a really good deal. I put each one for $50. Like, the shoes originally went for $350 and I put them for $50. The pants, somewhere between $500 to $1,000 would have been the original price. I put them for $50. The jacket probably was more about $100 originally, and I put it for $50, but literally it feels like brand new, and it's such a cute jacket. I'm like, I'm just going to put everything for $50 and see what happens. If I have to change it later, I can. Literally, nothing has happened. It's been up for over a week or something, and nothing has happened. Like, they've gotten some views, a couple likes, and that is about it. So I was like, okay, I don't think this is God's plan for how I'm going to make money. I don't think he is calling me to shop at Goodwill, find expensive brands and sell them. I think he just wants to show me that he can get me quality stuff even when I feel like I have no money, which is kind of what I said last time in the podcast. I was saying, yeah, I think God just wants me to know that he's a generous God. He can provide for me lavishly, even when it seems like I'm poor. And that's what I was taking it as. And I was like, I was just going to wear these things. I'm just going to be fancy with my clothes. But then, decided to go for the money instead. And here we are. I have not made any money from it. I'm about to take it down again. It's like you could just leave it up forever and see what happens. But I do kind of like the clothes. Like, I don't want to stand in those shoes for a long time, but I do kind of think they're cute still. I do still sort of like the pants, and I really do still like the jacket. So I don't want to be wearing them while they're up on Poshmark because I'm going to make them dingier, and I already took pictures of everything, and so I don't want to make them look worse. So I'm going to maybe wait a few more days, but then I'm just going to take it down, and then I'm just going to wear everything, and that's going to be what it is, my new decision. I've been going back and forth about everything, but that is what I think I'm going to do with that. So I've made no money from that. I also gave away a little bit of my birthday money because I was standing in line recently. Everything happens in line at dance class. So this is always the time when we chat because even if you don't get to class early, a lot of the classes get out late. Like the class before your class often gets out late. So often everyone's just like waiting in the lobby area, and that's kind of where you end up chatting a bunch. So a bunch of us were talking about money and how much classes cost and things like that. And I ended up joking about how I'm like rich right now because I got all this birthday money, which is not. I'm not rich because obviously like I had my car insurance and I paid for $50 for gas today, and like it's going to go down really fast, but it was still nice to get all of that money because it's just so generous of my friends and God is providing through that. And so I am so grateful. But yeah, generally it just keeps going away, but then God brings it back and then it goes away and God brings it back. So I'm never like rich. Right now is not the time that I am accumulating wealth. It is just like it comes in when I need it and then it leaves when I need to use it, which is often regularly. So anyway, but we're all sitting in line talking about money, and I made a joke that I was rich, all right? But then I was like, well, not really, but like I got some birthday money. It was very helpful, blah, blah, blah. And one of my friends was like, jokingly was like, can you share some of that? And I don't know, when she said that, I was like, yeah, I think I said, yeah. I don't even know if she heard me, but I was just like, well, I mean, yeah. I was like thinking, well, why can't I share it? Like literally all of this is from God. He provides as I go. And right now I'm not giving like a regular tithe to the church. I think I might have told you guys that. Some churches preach that like you're really supposed to give 10% of your income, 10% of anything God brings to you back to the local church. Some people might preach that you should give 10% of your income to somewhere generous that God is showing you, even if it's not the church. Other people think that the Bible doesn't really say it has to be 10%, but we are supposed to have generous hearts. We're supposed to give joyfully. God does want us to give. That's definitely in the Bible, but it's no longer about an exact amount. That was like before Jesus came, when people were, had to follow exact laws about different things. But then Jesus came, and after that, it was more about your heart and less about like these exact laws. Even though the laws still matter, they matter like more. For instance, before Jesus came, one of the laws was, don't have an affair. Is that a law? I told you guys the 10 commandments last time. What are they? I forgot again, but I'd have to sing this song again. But there's a command about, well, in the song, it's like, don't covet your neighbor's house or wife. But I don't know. Basically, you're not supposed to sleep with anybody else's spouse. That's like a law, right? But after Jesus came, it was less about that law and it was more about the heart. But it's kind of worse because I don't know if worse is the right word, but it's kind of like a bigger thing because now after Jesus came, it's like you're not even supposed to lust after someone. Like if you even have the ideas of doing that with someone in your heart, that is like considered a sin. So the laws don't matter as much, like all these random strict laws. Well, they're not random, but all these laws, but it does matter like what's in your heart and what you're thinking about, what you're dwelling on, that type of thing. And so anyways, some people think that there's not an actual like law right now about having to give 10% of your money. It's more just about generosity and giving when God leads you and giving with a joyful heart and that type of thing. Right now, that is kind of the boat I'm in. I don't have 100%, like I don't know 100% what I think it is. I veer different ways. I have often, most of my life, given 10% to the church. Certain seasons I've given to other things instead of the church. This season, I've kind of become a part of the belief that like it doesn't have to be exactly 10% and always to the church. God wants to give us to give joyfully. He wants to give us to give from our hearts. And also I was kind of reading about when the Israelites were in the manna season, since I'm always comparing myself to the manna season because I'm in a manna season right now where God provides everything as I go and I don't have a really like regular income or anything. And I believe that at least when I was researching online, it said that the Israelites didn't give like a tithe when they were in the manna season. And I think it explained it in some other ways too. And I don't remember everything I read. But when I was reading that, I kind of felt even more confirmed. I think like right now in this season is not the time that I have to be like, oh my gosh, I have to give 10% off of everything that comes in because I don't really even have income. I mostly just get donations and it's a small amount. It's kind of like for exactly what I need when I need it. And I make small amounts of money pet sitting and stuff. And not to say that you shouldn't give just because you make small amounts of money. But I just think I'm in a weird season where I'm not accumulating any wealth. It's just coming in as I need it and then I'm spending it and it's coming in. And like that's all that I have right now. However, I completely believe that God has called us to be generous no matter how much money we have, whether little or a lot. And so even through this whole entrepreneurial season for the past few years, I do have all these times when I felt like God has told me to give money to someone or to something when things come up and I feel compelled. And so I think because I'm not giving like a regular tithe right now to the church, 10%, I especially need to be listening for the Holy Spirit's voice if he wants me to give to like anything else. And most of the time I feel like he's calling me to give in ways that are not money because money isn't really the thing I have to give right now. But when my friend in line with us was like, can you share some of that? I mean, she was definitely just like joking around, but I was like, I mean, yeah. And then I don't even think she heard me say that. But then I kind of forgot about it after the class and everything. But then later that day, I feel like God brought it back to my mind and was like, yeah, why can't you share with her? And I was like, I mean, it's not that I don't want to, because I really do want to. Like, I love to be able to help people out financially or in any way that I can. Like, it feels good to be able to help people in that way. But I'm like, God, I'm the one that needs help. Like, I don't have any regular thing. Like, I live off of this. I live off of whatever people give me, and it's always random. And God uses it. I mean, it's like kind of not random because God gives me exactly what I need, but it feels really random. It feels crazy. But I felt like God said, yeah, since I always provide for you and I always replenish, especially then, why can't you share, why can't you share what you have with the person who asked for you to share it? And I was like, okay, God, I mean, I would love to, so I'll do it. But here we go, God. I hope you're going to keep providing for me. So anyway, I gave her a little bit of my money, and that was cool. I mean, I really want to bless other people. I don't do this podcast or share on my Instagram stories because I want to be like, look at my life. Look at how great my life is. What I really want to do is, and I don't even know if anyone's thinking my life is great. Maybe most of you think my life is crazy and would not want it ever. But I mostly want to share about my life with God, but it's not to say like, oh, my life with God is so great. Look at my life with God. It's to say like, hey, join me in this. Like anyone can have this. Anyone can have faith and trust God and he'll provide for them. And anyone can follow God and live life with God and have the joy that God has for us. And so it's never about look at me, look at me. It's about, hey, look at God and look at what life can be and come join me in that. And so I really do want to share my life with people and share in any way that I can. And so I felt like God gave me that idea of like, why don't you share some of the money that you got from your birthday with someone else? And I was like, okay. So I gave them not like a crazy amount, but like a small amount of it. And I was like, okay, cool. I feel good about that because you know what? So many people were generous with me. I can be a little bit generous with one person, And so did that. So yeah, that's kind of why I'm at $200 right now with a $50 Amazon gift card. But that's still, I mean, that's a good amount. Like, yeah, I have dance classes coming up, but I already had my car insurance taken out like yesterday and I got gas today. So the $200 is after that. So we're doing good. I'm feeling pretty good about it. I also wanted to say, I forgot to tell this story. When I did check my P.O. box and got that check, I got the check. I went to go back into my car to leave the post office. And as I was walking out the door, there was this man. So there was a man there who probably does not have a home. And he just kept opening the door for everybody that was going into the post office. And he was like really nice. And he just kept like saying hi and opening the door. He wasn't asking for anything. He just kept doing that. And then as I was leaving, he opened the door for me as I was leaving. And he had just like a really nice smile. And I smiled at him and said, thank you. And then I got into my car and right away I felt like God said, you need to go pray for that man. And I was like, I'm just going to go home, God. And I felt like he's like, you need to go pray for that man. Go back there and pray for that man. And I'm like, I mean, usually when you see someone like that, if God asks you to do something, it's usually to give them money. In the past, I have given people money. At this point, when I got that check, I mean, that check might have been all the money that I had. Like now I have $200, but at that point, this was like back earlier in the week, I probably had like $0 besides that check that I got in the mail, something around there anyways. And I didn't have any cash on me. But I didn't feel like God was telling me to give him that anyways, which I couldn't. I felt like he said, go back and pray for him. And I'm like, oh, it's so awkward. And like, I just want to leave. But I couldn't shake it. Like sometimes when God speaks to me, especially, I mean, that is usually one of the ways I know it's God because I can't like shake it. I can't get rid of it. And I also know it's not my own thought because like I don't even want to do it. But I just kept feeling it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to go back up there. I need to go back up there. Like I'm not going to die if I don't go back up there. But like, I don't know. I just know when God really puts something on my heart like that. And if I don't do it, I'm going to miss out. Like, or someone else is going to miss out, because God puts stuff like that in our hearts and speaks things to us to help other people and to give us purpose. And he coordinates it all together and brings joy through it and all of that. So it's really best way to live, to try to follow whatever God is telling you in like every moment. I mean, he's not telling me weird stuff to do every moment. It's like here and there. And I feel like I really have to listen to it when it happens. So anyway, get back out of my car, walk towards this man. I'm like, here we go. So I come back up to him and I'm like, hi. I said, do you want me to pray for you? That's all I said. I think I'm just like, hi, do you want me to pray for you today? Or can I pray for you or something like that? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. For anything specific? And he was like, no, I mean, like, just in general would be great in general. And he's kind of like this olderish man and kind of small and just really sweet, though. Had like such a sweet smile. And I asked him what his name was, and he told me. And I was like, can I put my hand on your shoulder? Because, like, a lot of times when you pray for people, like in church and stuff, like I used to be on the prayer team at my old church. And so they always tell you to ask the person if you can, like, touch them. But it's often really nice to, like, just put your hand on someone's shoulder or something. For some reason, when you're, like, touching someone or, like, touching their head or something, it just kind of feels really nice when someone's praying for you and they, like, kind of touch your shoulder or something. Because I think in the Bible, it talks about, like, laying hands on people to heal them and stuff like that. So I don't know. We just think that it's a good thing to be like touching someone when you're praying for them in like a nice way. And so I asked him if I could put my hand on his shoulder. He was like, yeah. And so I put my hand on his shoulder and I just started praying in general for him, for his life, for his purpose, for everything to be provided for his needs and for him to know God's love and all this stuff. I don't know. I just kept talking. I mean, I used to be on prayer teams, so like I'm kind of good at this, I guess. So I just kept talking and kept praying for him. And oh my gosh, I'm not looking at him because I'm kind of like my eyes are closed. I'm kind of like my head's bowed. I'm also probably doing that because I don't know who else is seeing me do this or who's coming out of the post office. I don't actually think anyone was around right then when I was doing it. But I mean, it's not like we were like alone. I mean, we were right outside the post office doors and there was cars parked and stuff. But I don't think anyone was like walking next to us right that moment. But anyway, as I'm praying for him, he just starts like weeping. Like, I wasn't looking at him, but he is like convulsing and I just hear him like really crying. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, just because like as I'm praying for him, I'm like, wow, I think he like really needed that. And I can't believe I almost didn't do it because of just like my pride and because I felt weird or whatever. So I finished praying for him. I asked him if I could give him a hug. I just felt like this guy needs a hug. Like he's struggling. So I asked him if I could give him a hug. He was like, yeah, I gave him a hug. And he was like, I really needed that. He's like wiping his eyes. He's like, I really, really needed that. Thank you so much. And still didn't ask me for money or anything. You know, he was just really thankful that I prayed for him. And he was like, you should do that more often for people. Like people need to do that more. That's so nice. And he's like, and I really needed a hug. And oh my gosh, he's just crying. And I'm like, oh. So anyway, I just like parted ways. But as I was leaving, a woman came out of the post office and gave him money. And she said, buy some good food with this or something like that. So I was like, okay, someone gave him money. That's good. Because like I didn't have any money to give him. But anyway, I got back in my car and then I started like crying. I just could not stop crying because I was like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know. It just like, it made me realize like people are just like going through stuff. You know, you think like you're the only one going through stuff. And it's like, man, other people are going through stuff. Like in that moment when I prayed for him, it's like, I could use prayer, you know, like I'm going through stuff, but we really have to look outside ourselves and like not just only think about what we need, because when you're blessing someone else or helping someone else or being there for someone else, the way that it like touches you is so big and it helps you remember like, oh, I'm not the only one that's struggling. I'm not alone, you know? And so I don't know. I just started kind of weeping in my car because I'm like, mostly because I couldn't believe I almost didn't do it. And just like how when God speaks to us, like people are missing out when we don't obey what he's saying. And so anyway, that was really cool. I was really grateful that God like gave me the courage to do that. I was really grateful that it blessed that guy. And yeah, that was kind of it. I just wanted to tell that story. I also wanted to give an update on my AI journey. There's really not a journey. I just wanted to give an update because I know I shared with you guys either in the last episode or 2 episodes ago about how I was processing a lot of like emotions I was going through. And I spent like 2 hours with AI just asking questions and talking about what I was going through, and also saying that I wanted to handle things biblically. And I felt like they became like a Christian therapist for me for like 2 hours. And it was really helpful. And I do really think God kind of led me to using that, because I've never really used AI before, especially not in that way. But since then, I feel like God has really spoken to me a lot of things about that situation and other situations I'm going through, and in sort of a different way from what AI was telling me, or what's the logical, practical way and stuff. Um, and it was just reminding me, like, I really just need to follow the Holy Spirit. It's not always going to be what the world thinks is logical or makes sense, or what AI thinks is best, even according to the Bible, even AI using the Bible. Like, yes, we are supposed to do things biblically, but even the most normal way to understand the Bible and the way that AI would present it, God may still ask us to do something different. Like, nothing, he's never going to ask us to do something against what he says to do in the Bible, but like, he just might be more creative with us or give us different ideas. And I just felt like God was showing me, like, Tracy, you need to mostly come to me. Like, what I did with AI and talking to AI a bunch, I feel like it helped me process my emotions, and that was something I really needed to do. So I think it was really good to give myself a good cry and get through all the emotions I was feeling. But as far as like actual advice, I mean, not to say I didn't take anything from that, but I think that mostly God, I really just need to go to God and listen to him, because God's kind of crazy. Like, AI is probably not going to tell me to go like pray for the guy at the post office. I don't know. I guess if I asked, it might say, yes, that's a great idea. I don't know. But basically, the Holy Spirit is just going to prompt us and give us different ideas for different things. And I don't need to be going to AI all the time. And I haven't. I really haven't since that one time. But I was just thinking about it more, and thinking about how, with the situation I brought to AI, God had already told me kind of different things than what AI was telling me. And I really felt like I need to listen to God, even if like AI, that's not the answer AI would have given me or whatever. So, anyways, just wanted to share that. And also, one of my friends recently asked me how I hear God's voice, or she was like, when you say that God told you something, like, what does that mean? And I thought that might be a good thing to talk about on here. I might have sort of talked about it on here a little bit in the past, but it's probably good to revisit, because I do use that phrase a lot. Like, God, I feel God telling me to do this or that. And yeah, it might be weird for you guys to listen to this podcast if you're wondering, like, what does that mean? How did God like tell her to do this or that? So I'm going to explain it maybe once again, because maybe I've explained it before. But basically, I believe that if you're someone who follows God, if you consider yourself a believer, which really is just believing that Jesus died on the cross and that he's God, and you're choosing to follow him with your life. You do not have to be perfect. You do not have to like try to make yourself like a righteous person or whatever. You just have to believe that Jesus died on the cross so that we can be considered righteous because of what he did, not because of anything we did. And we have to believe and understand that we are sinners and that we need God. That's kind of it. And then as we get to know God, we are compelled to like do things God's way, because we know how much he loves us and that his way is the best way, like for us, for other people, for everyone being able to work together, all of that. And then we believe that it's the truth. So we are compelled to try to do things God's way, but it's not because we're trying to like earn our way to heaven or make ourselves righteous. We really just believe that we're sinners and there's nothing we can really do besides just trust God and help believe that he can like change us from the inside out, that he can change our hearts and he can change how we are, because we can't even really do that on our own. We can't like will ourselves to be more loving or more whatever, or because trying to do that, it kind of just comes out fake. I think I talked about this in the past, like trying to force the fruits of the Spirit, like the fruits of the Spirit in the Bible, the fruits of the Holy Spirit are considered like love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, meekness, gentleness, and self-control. God kind of showed me recently, like, you can't really just like force those things. It's going to be kind of fake if you're just like, I have to be kind, I have to be kind, and you're just forcing kindness as much as you can, but rather just spending time with God, receiving all of his love, like spending time in the Bible, praying, talking to God through the day, receiving all the love he has for you. he will start to transform you into someone that has the fruits of the Spirit naturally, so that it's really sincere and it's like from your heart, because God has filled your heart up with his love. So you have a lot of extra love to flow onto other people versus like, I just have to say the right thing and I just have to be kind and I just have to be this and this and this. Because I've been that person as well and still to this day struggle. And God's like, Tracy, I don't need you to like try to be perfect. I just need you to spend time with me, receive my love, so you have that to flow onto others. Because ultimately the main command in the Bible, love God and love your neighbor as yourself. And when you're doing those things, it says that's encompassing pretty much everything. You're like going to follow everything if you're doing those things. So yeah, what was I talking about? Hearing God's voice. So I got off on a little tangent and now I forgot what I was talking about. But I feel like when you believe Jesus is God and you're a follower of Christ, you also have the Holy Spirit in your heart. So God is the Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And the Holy Spirit is basically the person that kind of guides us and directs us in our life. And so when we're kind of not sure what to do and that type of thing, the Holy Spirit kind of prompts us to different things. And so that's one of the ways to kind of hear God's voice. It's kind of, I think I've explained this like this in the past, where it's kind of like in a cartoon where you have like an angel and like a demon on your shoulders. It's kind of like the Holy Spirit is the angel one, kind of telling you like what you should probably do. And so when you hear that kind of inner voice, and I even think like people that don't consider themselves Christian or following God also, I think, still have like a sense, even if they're not like walking with the Holy Spirit necessarily or anything, but like I think they do have a sense of like they may still hear God's voice or like what they're supposed to do about things. So I do recommend everyone like try to listen or like ask God and see how he's leading. But yeah, I think just following those promptings in our heart that we think are probably God, they're probably God. So like when you hear voices in your head and you're like, one of them is saying like, I'm so ugly, I'm so ugly, I'm so ugly. Well, I can tell you that is not God. That is Satan, or that's your own self or something, but that is definitely not God. Those are lies in your head that you want to like get out of your head. Or something like, I don't have any purpose. Why am I even here? I shouldn't live anymore. That is definitely not from God. That is definitely from Satan. So you want to definitely speak against that, like cast that out of your head and try to hear what God says about you. So what God would say about you is, you're beautiful. Your life has meaning. You have purpose. You are worthy. Like, I love you, like that kind of thing. So when you're hearing that kind of stuff in your head, that's definitely God. So when it comes to these like specific things, like go pray for the person at the post office. I mean, I know that's something that God would want me to do. So I can tell you that's definitely not like Satan telling me to do that, or even like my own flesh telling me to do that, because I didn't want to do that. So I know my own flesh wasn't telling me to do that. So that's how I kind of knew that one was God. So a lot of times it's just stuff like that, like a prompting, an idea in my head. And I just have to discern, like, is that God? Is that my own idea? Is that Satan? Sometimes it's like super obvious. And other times it's like, is this God, or do I have a hidden motivation of something I'm trying to get by doing this thing? And I have to like sort that out, or like, who's telling me to do this? But because I've been doing this for so many years, like trying to hear God's voice, I feel like I'm very practiced at that. And I also read the Bible a lot. And I believe the Bible is what we have to know God better and know his character and know who he is. So that way, when we're hearing stuff in our head, we can know when it's God or not God. I also feel like God uses different things in our circumstances to show us things and to speak to us. So, like, in the beginning, when I felt like God was telling me to start a podcast, when he was telling me to start the Dance Journey podcast, I felt like he used a few different things to talk to me about that. One was this Zoom seminar I went on that I went to. One second. My voice is getting like so dry right now. One second. But one was this Zoom seminar I went to where there was this Christian like financial advisor married couple that I follow on Instagram, and they were hosting this free Zoom seminar to kind of figure out your calling in life and like what God wants you to do with your life career-wise. And they have their own really cool testimony about that. And it was right after I quit my corporate job, and I decided to go to that because I felt like I stumbled upon like an email or something that was talking about that event coming up, and I felt like God had me notice that email. And so I went to that, and I also won like a $50 gift card from going to that, which was really cool. And that felt confirming. Like, I think God really wanted me here. And by the end of that, we went through this worksheet trying to figure out like our giftings and stuff like that. And by the end of that, on my worksheet, I had put like, I think that I'm supposed to write a book and start a podcast. But still, I was like, okay, yeah, that's cool. After I find a regular job, I'll do that on the side or something. And I kind of like put the paper in a drawer and was like, okay, that was encouraging. I got a gift card, moving on. But then I was at one of my regular dance studios one day, and I was waiting in line again to go into a class. I wasn't talking with anyone that day. I wasn't with any friends, but I overheard someone in the line behind me telling her friend, this girl telling her friend, oh, I just started my podcast. And I just felt like God had me hear her say that to remind me that I need to start a podcast, which, like, I know the whole world is starting podcasts. I get that. But I've never heard anyone else in line ever since then ever talk about starting a podcast like in those words. Like, I just started my podcast. I have never heard anyone actually say that, except a girl recently in my life who's been coming to me particularly because she's trying to start a podcast and she wanted my advice on things. But that's because I already started it. But outside of that one time when I heard someone talk about starting a podcast, I have not heard anyone say that phrase to anyone around me since then. And I really feel like God had me standing there to hear those words. And I felt like in my head, God was like, yep, Tracy, and you need to start your podcast. And I was like, okay, yeah, at some point. I was like, what am I even going to do a podcast about? That's so crazy. I don't even know how to do a podcast. But then it wasn't until like a month after that or something that I was up all night applying for jobs once again. Like, I applied for so many jobs after I quit my corporate job, just trying to look for another regular job that would be less stressful, that would be closer to my house, and I could still do dance on the side and yada, yada. And I was up all night till like 3 a.m, redoing my cover letters, sending stuff out to every company, every job. I mean, I was applying for the most random jobs, part-time jobs, full-time jobs, jobs that paid what I needed, jobs that didn't pay what I needed, but I just applied anyways. And I never got like one manual response. All of my responses were automated. I never got one interview over months and months. And I know it can be tough out there, but it was pretty crazy that I had a job for 8 years before that, and I was a manager and I had tons of experience, and I couldn't even get like one interview. And so one night I was up all night sending resumes and cover letters till like 3 a.m. And I just kept feeling like God was saying to me in my head, go to sleep, Tracy, go to sleep. Once again, how did I know that was God? It wasn't me, because I wanted to stay up. I was trying to send out even more resumes and cover letters, but I was getting more and more stressed as I was doing it. And I don't think it was Satan telling me to go to sleep, because I think Satan would want me to be like stressed and keep going and just, you got to make this happen. You got to make it work. You got to figure something out, like that kind of hustle and striving and like trying to provide for yourself and all of that. I don't think that is from God. Not to say we should never apply for jobs. I just don't think that the way that I was doing it and the stress I was having. And also, I've been applying for jobs for months and months and months with like absolutely no response. And it's not to say that you shouldn't keep applying anyways. But for me in that moment, I felt like God was like, I just need you to go to sleep, girl, because I need you to give this to me. That was my way of like giving it to God. Like, you're in charge of my life. You provide for me. And I don't need to keep like trying to take care of myself, because the Bible talks so much about God providing for us. Like, look at how he provides for the birds. He's definitely going to provide for you. Like, you don't have to store up stuff. The Bible talks about that. You don't have to store things away. God is going to provide for you. It's not to say you should never save, but the point is like that you don't have to trust in your own stuff, your own things you've saved, just like trust in God. And so that's how I know that those words were like from God, because it matches like what's in the Bible. It also wasn't what I was trying to tell myself. So I really think that was God. So anyway, finally listened to God after I sent my last cover letter, went to sleep, woke up in the morning, and was just like, I need to journal with God a ton. Now, this is another way that I try to hear God. I've been journaling for maybe like 20 years or something. And I type all my journals in my computer. I put the date. I do it almost every single day, usually anywhere between 30 minutes and like 2 hours sometimes. Usually it's more of like about an hour. I read the Bible and then I just talk to God and I type it all out because I love to type. And so, I mean, I have journals in my computers and saved on hard drives for like from such a long time ago. And a while back, right after college, I went to a specific church where they really encouraged us to try to hear God's voice more. And one of the ways they encouraged us to do that was when we're journaling and praying, like when we're writing stuff down, to then write down what we think that God is saying back to us. And we may not be exactly right, but it's just like this practice to try to hear what God would say to us, like knowing who God is, knowing how he speaks to us. And the Bible often says, like, my sheep hear my voice. So those that follow God are supposed to know his voice. So basically, they would encourage us to like write down what we think God is saying back to us, like knowing that he's a good father, that he loves us. Like, what would he say to us? Like, we might be feeling rejected, lonely, ugly, no purpose, blah, blah, blah. And maybe we're journaling about that because we're venting about it and we're upset. And what do we think that God is saying back to us about that, though? So we might not believe it yet, but like, what do we think he would say to us about that? And so I've had all this practice because ever since that church told us to do that, I started then writing in italics what I think that God is saying back to me through all my journals for the past like 20 years or something. And so I can actually look back at old journals and like read in italics what I think God was saying to me. And sometimes when I look back at an old journal and find random italics, I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I needed that today. Actually, I think God was trying to tell me that today. And he knew I was going to look at that old journal from whatever day that was. And so what the church told us to do was, go back at a later date and read those words we thought that God said to us and kind of think to ourselves, was that really God, or was that kind of just our own thoughts and what we were thinking about it? And you can kind of help yourself discern that way, because usually upon reflection later on, you can tell more if it was God or not. Because in the moment, sometimes you're so caught up in whatever you're talking to God about and your emotions are high and you're thinking about what you want and blah, blah, blah. So sometimes it can be hard to hear God's voice in those moments. So if you look back at them later, you can usually tell more so like, okay, I really think that was God, or I kind of think that was just me. But I feel like the more you practice it, the more you're like, oh, I think I really did hear God. I think I heard God again. And so I've been doing that for so long that I feel like I've gotten pretty confident about hearing God's voice. And most of the time when I look back at those italics words, I think, wow, that was definitely God. God was totally speaking that to me. And he's speaking that to me now because I feel so encouraged. It feels like truth. It feels like encouragement. It feels like hope. It feels like truth from the Bible. So all of that kind of helps me see that it's really God. So yeah, after when I got up in the morning and the day after I stayed up till 3 a.m, just like trying to apply for jobs and whatever, I woke up, I was like, I just need to spend time with God. And I was spending time with God and journaling pretty much every day. But that day I was like, I need to spend a lot of time with God. Like I need to spend like at least 2 hours. I really need to write out all of my thoughts and talk to God because I wanted peace. I was feeling stressed and I wanted peace. I wasn't even necessarily looking for answers. I was just looking for peace. Because I know every time I spend that amount of time with God, he gives me peace. And so I knew that would happen. That's what I had faith about. So I started kind of venting to God about my life. I can't get any responses from any of these jobs. Da, 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 da. And then all of a sudden, I just felt this huge, like, I don't know, like feeling of God wanting to speak to me. And I just started writing in italics what I thought God was saying. And I felt like he said, and I don't think this was me because it wasn't my logical thinking. I would not have thought that this was a good idea. But I felt like God said to me, I don't want you to apply for jobs anymore. I want you to start a podcast and write a book. And I was like, okay. I'm like, what am I going to do a podcast about? And then I felt like he just started telling me all these details. So in the past, when I kind of felt like he was telling me to start a podcast, I didn't really hear many details about it. And this time I felt like he said, you're going to start a podcast. It's going to be called Dance Journey. You're going to tell your own dance story in the beginning, and then you're going to interview other dancers and blah, 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 blah. And I just felt like it was like details, details, details. And then it was like, and you're going to write a book and you're going to sell your book through the podcast and all this stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, I was getting excited as I was writing it all down because I wasn't expecting to get this like crazy download from God, which is what I thought it was. But I was like, I don't know. I was like inspired. I was excited. But then I was like, God, but I need to make money though. Like I need to make money. And I felt like God said, you already have money. Again, I didn't feel like this was me because this is not how I think. I had a chunk of money in my savings and that was to be for a car whenever I need a car in the future, which wasn't going to be for a while because I still had like a somewhat newish car. But when I got that car, I didn't really have the money for it. And I was helped out in order to get the car. And I didn't want that to happen. I didn't want to have to rely on anybody else the next time I need a car. Like I wanted to have that money saved. So I saved little by little by little by little for so long so that I would have money the next time I need a car. And I was not touching that savings. Like there was times when I felt like I had no money because I didn't think about that savings as having money. That was for a car in the future. So when God said, you already have money, I was like, no, 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 no. That's for a car in the future. And I felt like God said, nope, that's for now. So you can do what I'm telling you to do. And I'm like, ooh, for me, that took a lot of faith to think that I could go through that money. I mean, I've always been taught to be really wise with money, to save money. You have to be prepared for every type of emergency or anything you might need in the future. Like, that's how I was raised. So it was hard for me, but I was like, okay, I guess we could try this. I mean, I really felt like I was hearing from God. So I'm like, okay, maybe, I'm going to use this money, but by the time it runs out, like by the time it would have run out, God will make all these things I'm doing successful and he'll provide all the money. And so that's what I thought was going to happen. And yeah, I mean, I'm not going to tell the whole story of my life. We've been going through these podcasts. Like, you guys know my life if you've been listening for a while. But basically, I did go through all my savings. Like, God helped me to do everything. Like, I did not know how I was going to do a podcast. I tried to do it from my room. It turned out really bad. And then God gave me the idea to do it from a car. And I didn't know what mics to use. But then it just so happened my gymnastics coach was going to start a podcast. So then she had these mics and she was like, these are the ones you should use. They're really good. And then I researched it and she was right. And then I got them. And just everything I wasn't sure how to do, God kept providing. Like, just even when I wasn't looking for it, it was almost like in front of me. All of a sudden, this person had the answer for that, or that person had the answer. Or I found this thing online, or I literally asked one question on a YouTube. Like, someone posted a YouTube video about something with mics or audio or a podcast or something. And I really liked it. It was this helpful tutorial. So I wrote one little question in the comments and I said something about how I'm trying to start a podcast. I'm going to shoot it from my car. This girl who made her own YouTube that I was responding to, she ends up messaging me this whole long thing that was so nice. It was like, oh, if you're going to shoot a podcast from your car, these are some things you might really want to get. And it's like nothing to do with her. Like, she's not selling this stuff. She was just being nice. And she was like, you might want to get like a battery for your phone. And then you might want to get shades to cover your windows so that if the sun is coming in, and you might want to have this or this. And that's really cool that you're starting a podcast. I hope it goes well. It was just like so nice. And like, this random stranger is giving me all these tips and it was really helpful. And I did get some of those things and I'm still using them today. And it's crazy. So just the way that God confirms, this is the other thing I was telling my friend who was asking me about this. I'm like, I don't always know 100% it's God's voice. Like, I'll be pretty sure. I'm like, I really think God is telling me to do this. But then it's when I start doing it and he keeps providing everything I need and allows me to keep going and keeps encouraging me. I'm like, oh, okay, I really think that was God. Cause like, look at what's happening. This is crazy. So that's been kind of how I've kind of just kept following God's voice with all these things that I'm doing. And then, yeah, I went through all my money and my savings and I was like, okay, God, I actually ended up taking a job that came to me out of nowhere, which I don't think that God wanted me to take. That's a whole long story about why I felt like God was speaking to me to not take the job, but I felt like I had to because how else is I going to make money? I don't have money anymore. But then I felt like he gave me grace to keep that job for a little bit. And I did, even though there was a lot that I didn't like about it, but there was some stuff that I liked about it. But then some stuff happened and I really had to quit and God kind of made it so I had to quit. And I was like, man. And at that point, I really didn't want to quit. And I quit and I just felt like God kept telling me to keep going and not worry about jobs that he's going to provide for me. And I had a little bit of more money from that job. So of course, like I used that, but then that ran out again. But at this point, God was telling me like, I don't need you to look for jobs. I'm just going to be providing for you. And then he encouraged me to start writing a monthly newsletter and asking for donations. And that was something that I felt like God was telling me to do from the beginning. And once again, he used different situations to kind of tell me. I had a friend who was like, I think you should start writing letters and explaining to people how much work all of this is that you do and see if anybody would like want to contribute towards it because I don't think people understand like what you're doing or like all the work that it takes and that type of thing. And she kept encouraging me that I should write letters. And I was like, I don't really want to do that. Like I was praying about it. I was like, I don't really want to do that. Then I had another friend who I hadn't seen in forever. Happened to be in town in LA. She lives somewhere else. And so we got lunch together or something. And I was kind of telling her about what I was doing. And she was like, Tracy, you need to have some sort of link where people can send you donations. And I wasn't talking to her about donations either. I was just talking about the podcast and like my money situation. She's like, you should. And I'm like, I don't really want it to be about that. I don't want to ask for donations. I just like want to do it. I just want to bless people. I don't want to like ask people for stuff. And she's like, well, that's not really your call. She's like, because God might compel people to want to give money to you. And like, you shouldn't be stopping that. So you should give them some sort of outlet for them to like give donations if they want to. Like maybe that's how God wants to provide for you. So second friend doesn't know the other friend. I never talked to either of these friends about wanting donations. And both of them suggested that to me. And I was like, yeah. It still took me months and months before I ever like wrote a letter or said anything about donations, even after God was kind of putting that in my heart. But then when I had to quit that random job I took in the middle of my entrepreneurial journey that I was there for like 6 months, when I quit that job, I felt like God told me again, like, you need to be more upfront about asking for donations and stuff. So those of you that have heard me ask for donations, just know that that's been a really long journey for me to even get to the point to like say that I could use that. But that's also been a journey of hearing God's voice and trying to do what he's calling me to do in that way. And he just has me in a really like dependent season, really dependent on him, really dependent on others. Not necessarily like I'm depending on anyone specific, but just depending on God using the people in my life to bless me. And I'm hoping that when I'm in a place where I can bless others, that I can do the same for them. I mean, even now I'm trying to do that in small ways, like praying for the guy at the post office or giving money to my friend when I have a little bit extra and things like that. But I mean, I would love to have a lot more than that and be able to like really give to people. But for now, that's not what I have. But I'm so grateful for those that do and those that have been generous with me. It's been really awesome. And yeah, that's kind of a little bit about how I hear God's voice. So hopefully that's helpful if that's been hard for you to understand when I talk about that stuff. If you have any other questions about hearing God's voice, I love to talk about that because I really think I live my whole life hearing God's voice. And that's something God's actually telling me to really have more confidence about, like that I really hear God's voice and stop being like, I think maybe he said this or that. Like at this point, I've been living life with God for so long. Like I know that I hear God's voice. And so the only times I'm really maybe struggling with hearing God's voice is when I'm kind of stuck on my own thing. Like I almost don't want to hear his voice because I kind of want to just do it my own way. I definitely know I have moments like that where I kind of shut it out because I'm like, no, I kind of just want to do this. And that never goes well. It's just better to hear God's voice. It's like, it's not a bad thing. Like God loves us so much. He actually loves us better than we can love ourselves. So if we really just keep our eyes on him and do whatever he's leading us to do, like it's just going to be better because he wants us to do certain things because he loves us, because it's best for us, because it's best for others, because it's best for like living out our purpose. And he's the one that knows all that. He's the one that knows our purpose and everything. So it's better to just walk life with him. And he made us a certain way. Like he's the one that gave us these talents. So he's definitely not trying to like make your life worse or have you do something you're not called to do. Like he gave you the talents. He knows what they're supposed to be used for. He knows the timing of it. So he may ask you to do something that's not your biggest, most favorite talent right now, but you don't know how that's going to lead to something else or what his whole plan was. Like even when I was injured and couldn't dance for like a year, I kept thinking God was going to take away my desire to dance, or maybe he's changing my whole life, which is making me sad. But I was like, well, I mean, if he has something else for me, I guess that's better. You know, I'm trying to like believe that. But he never stopped giving me a passion to dance, even the whole time I was injured. And I almost took a job that was going to make it so that I wouldn't have like any time to dance because I felt like I've been injured for 8 months. I'm never going to be healed. I was actually going to try to work in the dance industry, but not doing dance. And I had a really good interview with this. Basically, it was a dance agency, and I applied for it. It went really well. I had this like panel interview with like 3 people, and they really liked me. And I'm pretty sure they were going to give me that job. And it was actually paying less than I still had my corporate job at the time, but I was kind of just like, I can never dance again. And I at least should be working something with dance because I still have a passion for dance. And so I went to that, and the whole time when they were explaining things to me about the job and stuff, there were just a few little things I felt like God had me notice and realized like this job wasn't for me. And so there's a few reasons why I felt like that job was actually not for me, but it was basically to be an admin for them, but then it could turn into being an agent, like a dance agent. And I felt like God was showing me like, Tracy, if you take this job, you're not going to have time to dance. Like this is going to be your life. It's going to take over your life and you're not going to have time to do your own dancing. And I was like arguing with God, like, but I can't dance anyways. I've been injured for like 8 months. I don't think I'm getting better. It's like getting worse. And I really felt like in that interview, God was speaking to me in my head. And I felt like he said, no, you are going to dance. You are going to dance again. I need you to dance. And I'm like, and as someone who struggles with even thinking I'm a good dancer or anything, like, I'm just like, why do I need to dance? Like, I can just be behind the scenes. Like, I don't have to dance, even though I love dancing. But when God said that to me and when he showed me some other things about the job and like why it wasn't really for me, I was like, okay, because I mean, one of the things was like I would get to connect with dancers more, which I really like doing. And this is before I started the podcast or anything or even had those ideas because I was still working my corporate job. But I was like, yeah, I'd be able to maybe like find dancers in dance classes and like recruit people or, get dancers jobs. It's really cool because I want to help dancers and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, God was like, no, this isn't for you. And it's crazy. So I ended up telling them they hadn't offered it to me yet, but it seemed like they were going to. They reached out to me afterwards. They kind of were talking to me about money, like how much money did you want? And that was kind of a weird conversation because at that point I felt like I didn't really want the job anymore. And also it was going to pay less. It might pay more than my current job. The current job that I had, it might have paid more eventually once I became an agent. But at that point, that starting position, like it wasn't going to pay more. So it was a little crazy, but I just like wanted to do something in my passions and I felt like I couldn't dance anymore. And so I ended up kind of telling them that this is the amount I make right now. So actually it probably is going to be too low for me. And then I just said, actually, like, I don't think this job is for me. I'm sorry. Like I thought it might work really great, but because of this or this reason, I kind of feel like it's not for me anymore. And so I don't think they were super happy about that. They actually didn't respond to me at all when I said that, which was awkward. But it was crazy because it was a few months later, I was totally healed and dancing more than ever. If you want to hear my whole dance story, if you watch the first or listen to the first season of Dance Journey, of my Dance Journey podcast, the first season, there's like 6 episodes. It's all my dance story. And I have at least one of those episodes where I talk all about my injury and like how God helped me through that and just kept giving me energy and hope every time I wanted to like give up and just be like, I can't dance anymore, until finally like I went to my like final physical therapist. I went to so many physical therapists, so many doctors. I spent so much money on all that. And finally, I was really helped at the end. I mean, everybody helped me in different ways, but nothing was like really working. And at the end, it was like the one thing I needed. And I got completely healed after that. And I literally started dancing like more than I was even dancing before, and stronger and more advanced classes. And I have like no feeling of any of that old injury that started in my foot, started in my toe, became into my feet, my legs. It actually was an injury that kind of traveled through my body because I was like I never had been injured before. So I was like resting too much because I was told to rest and not do anything. And then it was creating other injuries. It was like this whole crazy thing. It was like kind of awful, but God really helped me through it. And I really think it was his voice speaking to me that helped me to keep going and not give up. And then, it was a little less than a year and I was completely healed. And that was kind of a long time. It felt long in the moment, but I'm really grateful that I didn't take that job and that I did listen to God. And now he has me connecting with dancers and dancing myself and doing my own thing with it, which is like totally more my personality. And, doing the podcast with them, interviewing them, and it's just so much more me. It's like you think some things you're like, oh, cool. It's like I'm good at admin and I also know a good amount about dance. And also I love to connect with dancers. So this job, it sounds like it's really good for me. And look, they all like me so much. And it's like this top agency that would be really cool and blah, blah, blah. And God's showing me like, I have something different for you. Like it's better. That's why I think that we have to listen to God, because like, I don't think like on paper that seemed like a good thing for me, but God knows me better than I know myself. And he knew that he had something better for me that was going to fit my personality even more, but I didn't know what it was. So I had to just listen to God without even knowing like what that new thing was going to be. And it was, 3-4 months later that I was totally healed. Well, I was still at my corporate job after I was healed for some amount of time. I don't remember. But then it was until after that God really led me into all these creative projects. So it really was a while, but I'm glad I didn't get caught up in that other job and everything. So I'm glad that I heard his voice in that moment. So yeah, I highly recommend trying to live life with God, hearing his voice, and being in the Bible, learning about God. And if you have questions about God when you're reading the Bible, like, why would he say that? Why would the Bible say this? And the Bible, everything in the Bible is not exactly how we're supposed to live. Like, there's tons of crazy stories in the Bible of people murdering people and sleeping with people they shouldn't be sleeping with and things like that. Like, every single story in the Bible is not what we're supposed to do. It's like you have to look at the Bible as a whole, like read it all and understand the context. And like, that's kind of intimidating because it's like a big book, but you can start in one place and you can look up things that you don't understand and that stuff. But yeah, I mean, you learn the heart of God as you read the whole Bible. And then there's, parts that Jesus actually himself says, so that you can take a little bit more direct, like, okay, this is what we're supposed to do. This is how we're supposed to live. But everything else is like you're taking it in context and you're understanding the story and what God's saying through the story and that kind of thing. So it's all really a story about God's love for us and his redemption of the world. And like, it's actually so amazing. Highly recommend. Best book in the world. Anyway, it also has been around forever. There's like a bajillion copies. I don't have all the stats, but like, it's crazy how it's been preserved and kept. And like, there's just so much crazy stuff to like prove and go along with the Bible, and proving that all of the like history in it is accurate and that type of thing. So like, these stories can sound crazy, but there's been so much proof for them and everything. And I really believe God did a lot of miracles back then. He's still doing miracles today. It's amazing and so hopeful for life when you believe that. But I don't just believe it because it's like happy to believe that. I just really have seen it. And like, I have experienced God. I've experienced his love. I've experienced his miracles. And I just want everyone to know about it, not to be like, oh, Tracy's bragging about her life again. I don't know if anyone thinks that, because I just don't think my life is anything to brag about. But it's just to like be like, hey, get in on this. You can have this too. Like, I love being around other believers who have the same or better cool stories from God, because it just encourages my heart. And like, oh my gosh, it's so cool how God did that for you. I know God could do anything for me that he wants to do. Like, he might not always answer my prayer requests as a yes, or in the timing that I want, but it's because he knows what's better. Like, I was praying for that job, that dance job that I thought I wanted, and he showed me not to take it. And I'm so glad he did, even though I was like, please, God, let this work out. I really need this, blah, 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 blah. And he showed me why it wasn't to be. And that's often in my life. He's said no or showed me a different thing, but that's because he knows better. And sometimes he really makes it clear why, and other times he doesn't always. But most of the time, once enough time has gone by, I look back and I'm like, oh, okay, I can kind of see why. Like, almost every time. There's hardly a thing in my life that I'm like, I have no idea why that happened. Well, there's some things in my life that kind of sucked, and I wouldn't say that God wanted them to happen. There's a lot of sin in the world and people who make bad choices, and we are affected by that. We're not always affected just by our own sin. We're also affected by other people's sin, and the bad choices they're making can hurt other people. That's another reason to try to do what's right, because it's not just about you, it's about other people as well. And when we're doing what God wants us to do, it's helpful to other people. And when we're not, it's not helpful to other people. So there's probably, all of you have experienced pain and hurt from people who are not choosing the right things. And so that is just sin. It's just brokenness. Fortunately, God can redeem all those things and turn them into something good, because that's who he is. So he can use that bad experience you went through so that you can help someone else, and he can restore your joy. He can heal your wounds. He can do all of that. But until Jesus returns to restore everything, and take everyone with him that believed in him, until he does that, there's just still sin and brokenness in the world. And it is because God has allowed free will so that we're not robots and we can choose to love him and be in relationship with him or not. And unfortunately, because of that free will, there's brokenness and there's sin and there's pain and there's people that get hurt. And it really sucks because it's very real. But fortunately, we have hope for when Jesus returns and it's better. But we also have hope now, because as we're living the way God's called us to live and doing things according to him, it does produce like sort of glimpses of heaven. It's not perfect because there's still brokenness. There's still sin around us. We can't control everything, and we can't even completely control our, like, we're still going to sin sometimes. Even if we're trying to do what's right, we're still going to mess it up sometimes and experiencing the pain of that. Because when we sin, we mess up. We also experience the pain of that. Even when God's redeeming it, even when he's forgiving us, there's still just like natural consequences and things we go through, even as he's like redeeming it. So, anyway, all that to say that, yeah, living with God is awesome. I mean, that's literally the main reason I'm doing this whole podcast is to talk about how living with God is awesome. And I just want that for everybody. And something else. So this has been the message at my church the past couple weeks, has been about living in alignment with everything that God speaks to us. So like any word God has given you, whether it's through the Bible, like a promise that's in the Bible where God says, like, I am going to always take care of you. I'm going to provide for you. Or if he's spoken a certain calling on your life, like I've called you to be a dancer. I've called you to be a teacher. I've called you to be a doctor. I've called you to be a veterinarian, like whatever it is that God's called you to do. Or I've called you to encourage others. I've called you to, I don't know, serve a certain community, or I don't know, whatever he's put on your life, you're supposed to walk in that and speak out of that. So basically, to be in alignment with everything God is saying about you and to you, you have to like think like that and speak like that and walk in it. So if God is telling me, Tracy, you are going to be a dancer, you're going to be a good dancer, you are a good dancer. Like if he's saying that kind of stuff to me, it's hard for me to even say that out loud because I'm like, I'm not like a good dancer. Like I'm kind of like, sometimes I'm good. Like that's how I would probably say it about myself. But I really feel the way God talks to me is like, you're a dancer, Tracy. You're a good dancer. I've called you to dance, you know? But then if I'm always in class, like, oh, I really sucked. Oh, I kind of like did terrible. If I'm always saying stuff like that, or I look gross today, or, oh, that was weird. Um, that's not living in alignment with who God's called me to be. So I could mess up in class, but I should walk away and be like, this is great training. I'm getting so much better than I used to be, and not focusing on like, oh, I sucked or I messed up everything or blah, blah, blah. That's not speaking out of like who God's called me to be, and just different things. Even with these podcasts and the books I'm writing, sometimes I'm like, nobody's listening. Why am I even doing this? Like whatever, like nobody liked my post. It's like, that's not speaking out of alignment with what God has said about me. God told me to do these podcasts. He told me they were going to be successful. He told me to write books. He told me they were going to be successful. So it doesn't matter. That's why God keeps telling me to stop looking at the statistics, because I look at the statistics and I'm like, nobody's listening. Why am I even doing this anymore? And God's like, no, I told you to obey me. I already told you it's going to be successful. I don't know the timeline of it, but this is what he told me. And even now, it might not look successful numbers wise, but I will have people here and there telling me, oh, that really encouraged me. I really like your podcast, that type of thing. So it is successful. And so I want to talk about it like that. I know I was called to do these things and I like doing them, and it's hard work, but it's good. It's the work God's called me to do. And it's going to be successful, and it is successful. And that's what I want to say. I want to stop talking out of all this insecurity and stuff that is not what God has said about me. And I know he's called me to be a bold person, to share my life, to be bold about it, to be bold about God, to not have fear of people and not have fear of what people think. And so that's how I want to speak, and that's how I want to walk, and that's how I want to think. I know he's called me to teach dance, to choreograph. So I don't want to act like, oh, I'm so bad at it or blah, blah, blah. Like, it's like, I'm growing at it. It's not to live in denial or to pretend something is true when it's not, but it's just to speak about things in a way where you're confident because of what God spoke about you, and you're walking in that, and you're thinking that, and you're speaking it. So also, just like with my money, God has told me I'm not poor, I'm rich, and he's always replenishing what I need. And I don't have to act like I don't have money and I don't have this or that. Now, again, it's not to pretend like I have a bunch of money I don't have, but I need to talk about it in the way that God showed me. Like, yeah, I have this amount in my account, but God keeps providing every time I need it for something. And I feel like he's told me I can do all these things in my heart. So I'm just doing them, and he keeps providing, and it's really cool. And I kind of feel rich, even though like my bank account doesn't really look rich, but it's really crazy. And he's providing these fancy clothes for me and all these things. And it's so crazy. So that's why, I do this podcast, and I want to speak these truths that God is saying to me, to also encourage others to speak truths that God is saying about you. And yeah, that's what the church has been encouraging us to do, is to live in alignment with what God says about us and really walk in it, take action in it, and think in it. And that's how we're going to start to really see like God move and see our purposes come to pass, because we're not living in like a dissonance of like, even though this is what God says, but I'm going to think this other thing about myself, and I'm going to keep saying this other thing about myself. It's like you're just creating arguments inside yourself, and it's not helping anything. Like have unity in yourself between like what God's telling you, what you're thinking. And so when you have a thought that isn't in alignment with what God said about you, it's okay. It's not like, oh, that's so terrible, but it's like, it's the reality that sometimes we have insecurities and we think a thing that's not really what God thinks about us. But then right away we should recognize that and be like, okay, wait. Like the other day I said something like, oh, I'm jealous of that. And then right after I said it, I was like, wait, no, I'm not jealous, because jealousy is not a part of my life anymore. Because that's something like God is like, why are you jealous? You don't have to be jealous of anything, and actually I've commanded you to not be jealous. So like, just be grateful and know that I have things for you on your path and I have things for other people on their paths, and you can be excited for them. And there's no need for jealousy. So don't even use that word. Like that should not even be in your vocabulary. So it's not to say I have to lie and pretend I'm never jealous. But anytime I start to feel a jealousy thing arise in me, I have to just like give it to God right away. Like try to give it to God so fast. Be like, I'm sorry, God. I was feeling jealous. I don't want to feel jealous. That's not who you've called me to be. Please remind me who I am. Please remind me that you have a great plan for my life and I don't have to be worried or try to be like someone else or wish I had what they had. And, just being honest with God. You don't have to pretend like you're never jealous, but just like really taking it to God and then asking him for his truth back, trying to hear his voice back to you, like, okay, wait, I know you have a good plan for me. My life is good. You have good things for me. It's all in your timing. I'm loving what you're doing for me. Just staying grateful in everything and trusting that he knows what he's doing with your life. And so anyway, just wanted to give you that encouragement from my church services about just living in alignment with what God says about you. And that goes along with trying to hear God's voice and really believing what he's saying about you in your life. I wanted to talk about my birthday, but gosh, it's getting dark. I did this podcast so late and I still have to edit it tonight and try to release it tomorrow morning. So I need to finish up, but my birthday party was amazing. So I took one of my favorite classes that I always take in the morning, and that was so fun. And I got to dance with one of my friends in a small group, which was really fun. And then at night, I had people came and met me for dinner. It was just a small group that came for the dinner, but that was nice. We all got to chat kind of more intimately. And then we went to see Charlotte's Web, the ballet, which was a bunch of kids mostly that were in it, like really good ballet dancer kids who did like a training program in the summer, and then they put on this ballet of Charlotte's Web. It was so amazing. It wasn't just like cute. It was cute, but it was really, really well done. And I just like absolutely loved it. And so many of my friends came. Like a lot of people weren't able to make it, and I wish they could have, but those that came, it was really fun. It was just like a really fun assortment of my friends, like dance friends, church friends, old roommates, that kind of thing. And even friends of my current roommates, just like random people that I recently met who wanted to come. It was just really, really fun. The group of people, I feel like we all had a good time. We all enjoyed the ballet. And I not only, got presents from some people. Nobody needed to give me any presents like for my birthday or anything, but I did get different presents of money and different nice things. Actually, someone got me a Moleskine notebook and these really nice pens from Paper Source. And once again, I was like, look at God giving me fancy stuff again. Like, I don't need this fancy notebook or these fancy pens, but God's like, I'm going to give you quality, just like I gave you quality clothes from Goodwill. Like, I don't know. It's not like I always get quality of every single thing, but I just feel like God's often reminding me, like, I am generous with you. I'm not just going to be stingy or give you like the cheapest of everything. Like, I want to give you good stuff. I want to give you good products and things like that. So that was cool. But what was I going to say about that? That people gave me presents, but just that I was going to say that I didn't even have to pay for anything that night. Like, various people, one friend paid for my dinner, one friend paid for the parking for me, one friend was like, what drink do you want? I'll get you a drink at the ballet, which I really just wanted my water and we couldn't bring our waters in. So she bought me like a $4 water bottle, but that was like so nice. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I didn't have to pay for anything tonight. And I like dressed up in the dress that I got from Goodwill that I really thought was cute and it was so cheap, which was amazing. And I just haven't felt that way in a long time, where I felt really celebrated and just felt like I got to get dressed up and it's my birthday. And in the past, there were years that like I didn't even want to tell anyone it was my birthday. And I just felt like if I try to plan something, what if people don't come? And then I feel even more rejected than I would have felt if I hadn't planned anything. And yeah, so some years I would just be like, I'm not even going to tell anyone. I would just ask like one or two people if they wanted to hang out, which is fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with hanging out with like one or two people on your birthday. That can be really nice. But partly in my head, I partly did that because I was like, if I invite more people and like, what if they don't come? I don't want to feel rejected. And then other years I wouldn't even tell anyone. One time I was working at Starbucks on my birthday. I would often try to work on my birthday so I could just be like, well, I'm working on my birthday. And I just like wouldn't have to make it a big deal or anything. And one time I was working at Starbucks on my birthday And this guy I was working with just randomly started singing that song that's like, go shawty, it's your birthday. We're going to party like it's your birthday. Is this the same? I'm like, I think that's the words of the song. Anyway, that was back in the day. But like, he started singing that to me, and it was so funny because he had no idea it was my birthday. And I kind of thought it was like God, like winking at me, like, I know it's your birthday, girl. But yeah, I feel like it feels better if someone else plans something for your birthday, or like, I don't know. It just, birthdays can just be stressful and just like, oh, it's my birthday coming up. What am I going to do? So it was really cool that this year God kind of gave me an idea for it ahead of time, like months ahead of time. But I was still like, but how am I even going to pay for that? Like, I can't even afford like a ticket to see the Charlotte's Web Ballet for myself. And I'm going to try to get a bunch of people to do this. And who's going to want to go to this? And it's kind of out of the way, and it's out of LA and all this stuff. And God just really came through for that whole birthday, just paying for every single thing I need. Like, I literally paid for nothing for that. And like 15 friends came, which was shocking to me. And I just had so much fun. Just even how he provided down to like the outfit I was going to wear on my birthday. And it was partly because he's built my faith so much. Like, I wouldn't have even gone through with that, except that God like was teaching me how to trust him and have faith and just go forward with the idea he put in my heart. So it wasn't even just about the birthday. It was like that happening grew my faith, so that now with other things God's putting in my heart, I'm like, wait, I don't want to have any fear. I just want to like go for it, because look at how God always brings it together when I do something that's in my heart that I feel like he put in my heart. He always brings it together and helps me, and he helps it come together even better than I thought it would. Like, that amount of people I never even imagined. Like, literally, I couldn't even buy all the tickets on Ticketmaster because it doesn't let you buy like more than 8. At like, one person cannot buy more than 8 tickets, I guess, because they don't want them to like sell them on the side or something like that. So I had to literally use my roommate's credit card and like buy the rest of the tickets on hers. I mean, everyone was paying me back, but like, I didn't even realize how it was going to be like kind of tricky to organize everything. I had to make an Excel spreadsheet, like, which was kind of fun. Like, I like stuff like that sometimes, but it was just so cool. I'm like, wow, God is like, it's kind of like when the fishermen in the Bible, there's like a story in the New Testament about how the fishermen like couldn't get enough fish. They're like fishing all night and they haven't caught like one fish or something. And then Jesus comes on the boat and was like, throw your net over this side of the boat. And they're like, Jesus, we already tried that like a bunch of times. Like, there's no fish. And Jesus was like, no, you need to do this now. I don't know. I don't remember all the details, but then they put the net on that side and they got like so much fish that it like broke the net, or they could barely like reel it in. That's what I was kind of feeling like God was telling me about my birthday. Like, I was feeling like, I don't even have any friends. Like, who's going to want to come to this? Da, da, da. And God was like, just do it, girl, just do it. And then he brought in so many friends and people that like, I didn't even know how to keep track of it all or how to buy everybody's tickets. And he helped me figure it all out. I mean, it was a really good problem to have, but it's just like, wow, God, when he wants you to do something, he can bring it in abundance. And like, we just want to have faith and like go for it and not have fear of rejection or fear of anything. Like, we don't have to have fear of anything. When we know God's love, we don't have to have fear, because the Bible talks about how perfect love casts out fear, and God has perfect love for us. So if we're trusting in him, we don't have to have fear about anything. I am getting so dark right now because it's so dark outside. I can't believe I went so long. It's like an hour and a half now, and I really need to end this. But anyways, my birthday was awesome. Thank you to those of you that came and those of you that supported and those of you that contributed and gave me gifts, and just like everybody made me feel so loved, and even just like messages and everything. And yeah, I'm grateful for the boldness God gave me to like share about my birthday and tell people it's my birthday. And I just wanted to share on here that has not always been the case for me. Like, I have lived a lot of life now. I am older than a lot of people that listen to this podcast, and I was not always like this. I used to be more reserved and not want to talk about it and that type of thing, because I used to live out of fear and kind of self-pity and that type of thing. And it's cool to see how God has grown me to just trust him with whatever he wants the results to be of my faith. Like, maybe if he would have only wanted one person to come, and maybe it would have been the best birthday spending time with that one person, you know? So I was just trying to trust, like, however God makes this happen is going to be great. And I don't have to worry. Like, I don't have to have all this pride. Like, what if people like reject me and blah, blah, blah. It's like, God has not rejected me, and that's all I need. And if everybody else rejects me and I still have God, I'm good, you know? And I try to remind myself that. I literally can't even see myself in this camera anymore, guys. I gotta go. This is crazy. I still have to edit this, and I'm finally getting a little bit hot. It's so late in the day that I actually did keep my car off the whole time this time. But anyways, thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time. Bye.